Hi everyone, this is Dave Irwin from thesixaxis.com, and I am here with
Timothy Gerritsen from Fantasy Flight Interactive.
Awesome. So, for those who don't know what the Lord of the Rings living card game is, can you give us a brief description of what it is for our listeners?
Sure. The Lord of the Rings living card game is inspired by the tabletop game of the same name from Fantasy Flight Games. The digital version is quite different, though, and it is a cooperative and single-player focused narrative card game. It's a deck builder. You create decks to take on the forces of Sauron and explore around Middle-earth.
There's been a lot of talk about card games, particularly in mobile markets and PC markets, so the likes of Hearthstone and their business model. It's billed as a living card game, so can you explain what that is?
Sure. So the living card game means two different things to Fantasy Flight Games. First, living card game is something that is continually supported. It's something we bring out new materials for. It's not just an initial release and then we forget about it. It's going to be something we're going to be putting out new cards continually for it, new adventures, new quests for people to go on. It also is the economic model of that tabletop style of game, which is you only buy the cards you want to get. There isn't a randomization. You don't get stacks and stacks of random cards that you then have to pick out individual cards to build a deck from. Instead, you get specific packs with specific cards, and you buy those packs to basically fill out your decks. You can also buy individual cards beyond those packs and basically create the deck that you want to create rather than having to spend lots and lots of money to essentially get a lot of cards you're going to throw away.
Cool. So I have noticed, seeing the base game from Fantasy Flight, the actual card game itself, and it seems like all the cards are bought as sets, from what I can gather.
So there are different types of sets. There are basically adventure packs, which are smaller packs of just adventure cards. There are boxed edition sets, which are much larger quests with new heroes and new characters. And then there's different types of expansions that have come out for the tabletop game. So, but yes, they are sold essentially in packs or larger box sets. We are varying a little bit in that we are selling mainly individual packs, and then we're selling new quests as part of campaigns that'll come out every quarter. So the players have a sort of fixed understanding of what's coming. Down the road, we want to experiment with new features and new styles of play, but those are things we'll just unroll as part of the normal expansion.
What you can see on screen at the moment is some gameplay footage which we recorded earlier. So it's very different from a lot of other like CCGs or anything like that on the market. So for those who don't quite understand what's going on screen, can you explain it to us, please?
Sure. So you create fellowships of 3 heroes to start the game. Those 3 heroes then, they come from different types of spheres of influence. They represent different types of cards. There's tactics cards, there's leadership cards, there's spirit cards, and there's lore cards. And each of those is a different type of card that brings something unique to the table. You create these fellowships either from varying the types of spheres, or you can actually double up or even triple up using heroes from the same sphere. Then you play those cards, you play their allies, you play threats, and you play events to try to take on Sauron. But it is different than a lot of games that are out there because it is single-player focused. It is you against Sauron trying to stop him. It's asymmetrical in that Sauron has his own types of cards and his own decks. He has his own AI. He's actively trying to stop you. That's a big change from the digital to the tabletop, because the tabletop was basically randomly generated. You would just create a deck and draw cards, and that's how it happened. In this game, Sauron actually can play his deck against you, use his strengths against your strengths, see what you're doing, and try to react to that. But there's quite a bit of depth to the deck building in the game, and because of the way the spheres interact, there's a lot of tactical choice that happens on any given turn. There is, in combat, you get a lot of tactical choice, but in the quest that people are seeing right now is very combat focused, but some quests are much more exploratory focused. There's different types of quests in the game. We try to mix it up and give you a different type of experience every time you dive into a new quest.
Cool. So you are entering early access relatively soon, and it comes with the first quest, if I recall correctly.
Yes, so the first campaign will come out in early access. You get the first quest always free in a campaign. There are 5 quests within a single campaign, and each of those quests is made up of between 3 and 6 individual locations. Within the game, you actually defeat a location and then move on to another location. So that's another difference, I think, between us and other games that do feature a single-player mode, in that you're not just on the same stage. You're actually moving from stage to stage to stage.
And one of the interesting things I saw about that is not only do you keep like your hand and the characters that you've got essentially on the battlefield at the time, but if there are enemies with a particular keyword, so I think it was pursuit.
Pursuit, right.
They come with you as well, so that adds to the complexity. So
yeah.
So yeah, it's very unique in that respect. So like, how closely does it follow the game in terms of the actual mechanic?
I think players who have played the tabletop game will see a lot of similarities and really, have a lot of meat from the original tabletop game that carries over. But it is a very different game. We're not trying to create a one-for-one conversion. We are essentially trying to take advantage of the digital media and do something really unique and different than the original tabletop game. We're also taking away a lot of the bookkeeping and a lot of the tedium of what goes where, and separating the decks. That's all handled automatically for you. So for players who have never played the tabletop game though before, I think there's a lot of gameplay here, and we try to make it very accessible for those players who haven't tried the tabletop game. So it's similar enough that I think players will really enjoy it if they've been exposed to the tabletop game, but it's different enough that I think they're going to find new challenges and new ways to play.
One of the things I did mention earlier, whilst the game was being demonstrated, was how everything is obviously work in progress that you can see on the screen at the moment, so there will be things that will be added later. Can you expand on what things are left to add before you go into...
Before we go into early access, we're still working on the art. We're working on sound effects and visual effects. Those will be changing pretty significantly. We're adding the favor card system in, which is something we didn't talk about. That's a brand new feature that wasn't in the tabletop game. Essentially, those are bonus cards that you get to add on top of your deck that give you, you get one essentially per quest, and it gives you a bonus that you can pull at any time to try to save your bacon if your character's in trouble.
So are those favour cards that appear once per season?
So yes, there will be 3 of them per season. They essentially, you get to choose from them at the beginning of every quest. They're free. We don't charge for them. You just get them, and if you play on easy mode, you can take 2. If you play on medium difficulty, you get 1, and if you play on hard difficulty, you don't get any.
Essentially, the deck building of the game, it's you have to choose 3 heroes to start off with, and I'm quite used to deck building games such as Magic the Gathering, where you have to use certain colours in order to optimise your deck. I noticed when you were deck building that there were restrictions on what cards you can actually have in your deck due to which sphere your heroes are in. So you mentioned something about leveling up.
Sure. So another change we've added that isn't in the tabletop game is that we have levels of cards, and the way it works is if I have multiple heroes from the same sphere, if I have 2, I can unlock level 2 cards, and if I have 3, I can unlock level 3 cards from that sphere. So you have to choose as a player whether you want a diversity in your deck and having different spheres, or if you want to double up or triple up within a single sphere and then unlock new opportunities for higher level cards. So it just adds a little more nuance, I think, and tactical choice to the deck building process.
Enters early access Q1?
Early access is during the first quarter of 2018.
Yeah. And full release later in the year?
Full release later in the year. We haven't decided specifically when, but we don't want to be in early access for a terribly long time. We want to be in early access long enough to interact with fans. The initial game will only be single player, so we'll unleash co-op at some point during early access. But once we have co-op, I think, fully up and running, at that point we'll probably come out of into full release.
So just 2 more questions, just very, very short ones. First of all, where can players who are interested in what they're seeing on screen at the moment, where can they find out more information about what the game has?
Sure. Well, there's a couple of places. You can either go to fantasyflightinteractive.com, which will give you more information about the game itself and news articles and that sort of thing. Well, actually, there's 3 places you can go. You can also go to Asmodee Digital, which is our publisher, and they will have information about the game there as well. And then finally, you can go to our Steam page. The game is coming out initially for Steam on PC and Mac. So if you go to Steam and look up Lord of the Rings Living Card Game, we have a full community there for people to interact and start talking about the game.
Cool. And finally, if you were to describe like why someone should play Lord of the Rings Living Card Game in like a sentence or two, how would you do it?
Well, I think it gives you a unique take on the world of Middle-earth and creates a sense of adventure and narrative within a card game that is, I think, unique amongst card games that are out there. But really, I think the biggest reason is it gives you a way to explore the lore and the extensive storytelling that's from the Middle-earth series in a new way and get to understand characters and locations within that world in a completely new and unique way.
Once again, thank you very much to Timothy Gerritsen for taking the time to talk to us, as well as Asmodee Digital and Fantasy Flight Interactive for showing us the game. If you've enjoyed this particular piece of content on our YouTube channel, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications so that you'll know exactly when we next post on our YouTube channel. You can also check out thesixthaxis.com for the latest news, reviews, features and opinions. I've been Dave Owen from thesixthaxis.com, and thank you very much for watching.